to tonight's episode of Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel, and as always, I have a very special guest for you, Sarana Purcell, 43rd District Leader. She'll be with us for the next 30 minutes, so stay with us. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Beyond Focus TV allows you to discuss contemporary topics affecting the Caribbean people on both a national and local level. The show features informed guests who offer insight, debate, and evaluate various issues. Beyond Focus TV builds on the station's mission to provide useful information to the Caribbean people in New York and abroad. Beyond Focus TV, where our viewing audience can get educated, informed, and empowered. Welcome back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel. And like I said, I have a very special guest for you, Sarana Purcell, 43rd District Leader. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Lydia. I'm glad to be here.
It's great to have you here. You know, we're Brooklyn all day. Love that you're here. A lot has been going on. You know, it's 2022. It's a big year, big political change year.
Yeah.
So we're going to unpack all that. But before we even go any further, I got to ask you the hot seat question, which is, who is Sarana Purcell?
Well, Sarana Purcell is an immigrant from Grenada. I came here as a very small child, grew up in Crown Heights. Actually, when I came here, I was undocumented, and I experienced many of the struggles that my neighbors in my community, especially in Afro-Caribbean, Indo-Caribbean communities, have experienced while immigrating here from their native country. So I experienced many of those challenges of, housing challenges and just proper documentation, education, and being able to get settled, being able to go to college. And that kind of influenced me in many ways. Got to learn to advocate for myself, right? I had to advocate for myself. I had to advocate for my family. And then I had to advocate for, my neighbors. And I think that experience of my childhood, and in regards to the neighborhood I grew up in on East New York Avenue in New York, kind of just influenced me just to make sure whatever I did, I always gave back, right? So that's what kind of launched me into my career in public service. People say politics, but I consider politics. But for me, it's a sense of public service. And I just remember people pouring into me, right? I remember the teacher who, when I went to high school, they gave me a $500 scholarship for the Black, Latino, Asian caucus. And it went such a long way because I was like, I'm able to buy books. I remember the institution of CUNY, right? A school where I was able to kind of work and pay my tuition because it was affordable enough, right? Because it gave me access to kind of further my career without having those extra barriers. When I got to the point where I was able to adjust my status, become naturalized, I went into the area of just probably doing a certificate in immigration law. So I was able to kind of pay it forward, help out. I taught ELA classes, especially for those islands where they're non-speakers, because they have it harder when they come here, just because, they don't necessarily speak the language and that language barrier too as well. So imagine you having to struggle being from an English-speaking island, right? Exactly. But you're coming here and you're speaking a different...
Totally different
language. So just kind of navigating the system, navigating services, navigating simple things as access to internet. Those were all things that, in my career, I always made a commitment just to help the underserved. So, and it goes beyond the immigrant community, right? It goes for our seniors, right? And it also goes for our disenfranchised youth. So my area has always been to help those who, they want to help themselves, but, because of things outside their control, they need extra support and help so they can elevate, and not just survive, but thrive.
Exactly. Yeah. That's amazing, and that's why we have her here. She's checking all those boxes and doing great things. So before becoming the 43rd District Leader, on a professional front, what else were you doing?
So before I became the 43rd District Leader, and I said when I was in college, I got an internship at a congressional office where I was actually doing immigration cases, and I went to go work for a council office in government where I also was doing work on housing issues, work on sanitation issues, quality of life issues, and working with seniors. Then I did I worked with a youth program, and then I worked with seniors at area in my district called Susan McKinney. rehabilitation center, where we kind of help raise funds and provided programs for them. So everything was always in conjunction to each other. So anytime I did something.
And always a community aspect.
Yeah, there's always a community aspect. So everything I did community always equates to everything that I did in my professional life. I always come out, it just always just kind of combined naturally, right? And it combined naturally because it was the things that I enjoyed doing, right? So I just found I found it to be a natural fit. So after working at the city council, I worked in the New York State Assembly in the 43rd district, which is in this area here. I went to work for the state senate. I went to then work for the board president. So those avenues, no matter what position I take, I always make sure there's a component where I always stay connected with the people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's it shows. It really does show when you're doing all those different works and your body of work that you have. You bring that wealth of experience to the table.
Yeah.
So when you finally, let's talk about when you were running for district leader. How was that?
So it was very interesting. I became district leader last year, September, and my predecessor, she actually stepped down. So the process was that I was appointed. But the sense of me being appointed was a combination of all the work that I had done in the community, and not even thinking like anything was connected. I was just doing it just because it was who I am. But in the same stride, you never know who you leave an impact on, right? You could have been working with somebody like years before, or assisting them in some capacity, not thinking anything of it, but just doing those small things, and where you say, Sarana. So in that sense, during that time, I thought about it, and I was on a path to pursuing it. And that same time, and maybe I believe the same time my predecessor may have heard, but then she said that she was stepping down and she was leaving, and she said, I think you'll be a great person to kind of carry my legacy, which I was kind of honored, because I'm also a believer that you stand on the shoulders of those who come before you, right? And a lot of the times, I'm about moving things forward, but I believe we also have to respect, right, and honor the legacy that came before us, right?
Not to tear it down.
Yeah, not tear it down. Yeah, you can learn from. There's great knowledge. People learn from mistakes. Great insight. So it kind of meant a lot to me. So this time around, I am running for June. I'm up for election in June. That's probably June 28th, and I'm just looking to earn the support of the district. I have done the work in the district for years, whether it's be through via employment or just through just my regular civic volunteer engagement. And I feel like I understand the needs, and I just know the community.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. Absolutely. So a little bit of time. And I know for all those who got elected in the 2021 year that took effect for 2022, it was the timing was a bit weird. Like you said, there was even though it's not a real election year per se, June, there's still people who are up.
Yeah,
so the timing was a little odd.
Yeah, so the timing was odd, and I think it was odd because we're undergoing a lot of different changes with the election process, right? So we now have early voting. So instead of voting one day, you could vote 10 days prior.
Then we had ranked choice.
Then you had ranked choice voting. That was a whole other component.
Yes.
And in my particular role, I did a few ranked choice trainings too as well. And then when the pandemic happened, they expand absentee ballots so you can mail it in, where it was limited to some. So it was all these things are necessarily changing, but sometimes the information is not trickled down to those who need it. And one of the things I do in my role is just ensure that when information is changed, that information is necessarily shared. Because at times, you have early voting, the poll site may have changed.
Right.
And you don't want that senior going down to the regular poll site, walking all the way, and then find out, can't vote there, they have to go somewhere else. Providing information out to people because they civically engage is extremely important. It do remind me of a story when I first became naturalized, right? And I went to go vote.
I want to hear that story. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Stay with us. back here watching Beyond Focus TV. So, Sarana, right before break, we're talking about getting naturalized. Big day. You get on a 26 Federal Plaza and you do it.
Yeah. So I actually got sworn downtown Brooklyn was a courthouse. I was like, okay. So, but I remember when it became a sense like, okay, got a chance to go to vote. Go to the voting booth or whatever. And all this time I have been working in government, been working in politics, whatever, been on campaigns and all these things. And when I got there, I was just like, how do you put the paper into the machine? Like,
that's funny, actually.
No.
You never really participated
in an
election.
You never really participated in an election. So I would just remember going there, I'm like, I'm college educated. I work for these elected officials. I've done campaigns, whatever. And here I am with the ballot, and I don't know. And the little poll worker had to show me how to put the paper ballot in the machine because I was putting it the wrong way and But that's what happens when experiences are new and you never done it before, right? And if it's a struggle for me, speaking about the person who become a citizen at 58 or older age and they're getting a chance to vote and they're going into that voting that poll and they think it's a simple process and you get there and you really need that's when you need people, poll workers who care, who are patient, who understands, that make sure they speak different languages, that they realize that not all disabilities are visible. And so like in my particular role, like I strive to make sure those things will exist. I try to make sure that I speak to the various poll workers and just get a sense of the compassion and willingness to try to do the work to the best of their ability. Yeah.
No, I've seen an improvement compared to other years where they're just they want that it's good money to work the polls and get to get that, but you're not there to chill and do nothing. Like if you need to offer, be solution oriented because they're elderly people who can't see properly, don't know the new technology, especially with ranked choice and how to circle, color all the way. There's certain things that will disqualify your ballot.
Yeah, and then you turn around, you have all these amendments, you have to turn over the ballots, and all these proposals that you necessarily have to read. So you really need people in there who really have the patience, right? Who are really there because they want to make sure they're giving people the access to vote and have their voices heard, and that's key. And it seems like it's small, but it's so major because someone can end up voting the wrong way, someone vote to not be counted, and in the world where democracy is important, that's not fair.
That's not fair.
Yeah,
and we know in our community that it's already hard enough to get you out there. So when you actually do get people to come out, we need those votes.
Yeah, especially if they're coming out to participate and do the civil service. You want to make sure that their vote counts, that they know that their vote counts, and that it's counted.
Absolutely.
In regards to lines, and you want to make sure you have poll workers who are working the lines and accessible poll workers who are doing and also are doing the translation. Those things are, are key, and then making sure they're properly trained. Things that you feel like are simple and it should be common, but a lot of the times
it's part of the big picture.
It's a part of the big picture, and everyone has to play that role. And for me, I feel like that's the role I necessarily want to play. I want to help improve the process, right? I want to work in conjunction with the DOE. I want to work in conjunction with the poll workers. I want to work in conjunction with my fellow elected officials. Whatever it does to make sure we improve the process in my role. So yeah.
So, big question for everybody at home is, why should they vote for Sarana Purcell come June 28th?
I guess that question, that is a big question. So in a sense, I feel that, my compassion, my lived experience, my dedication, my need to make sure that civic engagement thrives, that people understand, have access to democracy. I feel those components, just kind of makes me like a appropriate district leader, right? I feel like I understand all aspects of the role, right? I've been on the other side where I have been a voter, but I've also been a new voter, someone who couldn't vote before, who became a voter. So I understand that aspects. I understand the side from a government aspects. I understand the size of a community member. So I believe that, I understand the big structure and the areas that necessarily needs to be improved. And not just saying I just know it because, I read about it. I experience it. And I also hear other people experience it too, right? And that's also a good component. You have to listen to other people, hear their feedback, hear what didn't work. And because of my career in regards to working with people, I have a clear understanding of just listen to them, understanding them, and helping them come up with a resolution and solution. And I'm also looking forward to implementing new ideas, right, that help move things forward. Like I'm working on a directory, right, and it's also a directory for myself that'll make, that will help with understanding what district leader does or understanding the changes of the laws, because currently now, the way things are going with all the election law changes, things are changing very rapidly. And sometimes so rapidly, it passes you by.
Yes.
Like in this particular district here, we have a special election on March the 22nd, right? But people don't know that. No. Because when people leave their seat or they vacate their seat, that's a whole nother process that requires like a really deep dive.
Wow.
But it's, yeah. And I'm not going to go into it, but things like that. So those are the type of things I want to keep people updated on. When they have new polling stations, if it has changed, just say, hey, these are the polling stations for early voting. So make sure people are going to the appropriate place to necessarily vote. And also finding ways to work with our seniors to make sure they have transportation to the polls.
Yes.
That's another big aspect, because a lot of times election day they don't have a transportation to the polls, and it disenfranchises them. And if the weather is bad, then they're not
Not
going
gonna come out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, we already figured that part out of, the why. What are some of the key challenges that the 43rd District really faces that you want to see changed?
So in terms of challenges that face, so I believe like all communities, all neighborhoods, they all face like unique challenges. The district is very, it's very diverse. We have the north side of Crown Heights, we have PLG, we have the East Flatbush, we have communities within communities.
Let's leave it right
Yes,
there.
uh-huh.
And we're going to pick right back
Okay.
up. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. So, Sarana, right before the break, we were talking about the Crown Heights and 43rd District and the issues.
The issues and the components. And I know on the north side, there's an issue of deed fraud and home ownership, and stuff for the older people who have their homes and they're being bought out. I know that, we have a lot of tenants and renters in the issue in the district. We have many hospitals that cover the district too as well. Oh. And even with those hospitals, sometimes you hear concerns about, getting appointments and just, access to health care. So our district faced many of the issues that other communities necessarily face. Education is another big issue. We have many schools in our district, but, they're not necessarily funded enough. But I find in regards to those challenges is just making sure that all of the areas are served equally, right? Because sometimes that's not really the case, because people are like in their own neck of their woods, the community, but really it's really one district.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that the north side, understand the south side, and then the east side feels like they're not neglected because they're all the way here. So I just
like
believe
pockets of people.
Pockets of people. So you want to understand, we're not in clay. We have like our differences. Our differences is what makes us great. And also just, that we're one district, and, we all are facing similar struggles at the end of the day, right? Whether it's from housing to healthcare to education, right? The pockets of areas in those issues may be different on the very different levels. But at the end of the day, it's like we all want the same thing. You want a place to live. You want good health care, you want good child care, you want good education, right?
Yeah.
And we have a Hasidic population in the district too as well. So I just believe it's a way where, as a broader district, we need to respect each other, right? And understand those differences, respect those differences, whatever. And then in the sense, like, make sure that we able, through either policy, advocacy, just make sure those needs are met. And that makes it sound like it's easy to make sure the needs are met. It's more complex than that.
Very
but
much.
I just think as long as you're able to have a voice in each of those areas, those neighborhoods, because people know what they need, right? You just have to listen to them.
Yeah.
That's it. They know because they're living it, and they'll tell you.
Exactly.
So I think you have to listen to them, and then once you listen to them, you go to the drawing board and say, "Hey, how can we address this? How can we
How do you
fix
come up with a
this?
plan?
How are you going to put a plan together?" And stuff like that. It doesn't happen overnight, and it's not an easy process. But I think as long as it doesn't fall on deaf silo when no one hears it and it just stays there and nothing happens, then that's where the problem lies, because then the issue is never corrected. It's never addressed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How do people get in contact with you? Is there a website, your social media, all that good stuff?
So I do answer my emails at sarana@bkdistrictleader.com.
Spell it out.
Right? So it's SARANA @districtleader.com. So people could always email me. And for my social, which is, I believe my Twitter, you're going to kill me. It is Sarana, SARANA, right? Purcell, PURCELL. I believe that's it. At like.
That's your handle.
Yeah, that's my handle. Yeah,
Okay.
my full name, you'll find me. I don't got no special. I don't got no SP. Da 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 da. I don't got no SPG. SP 43rd. My full name. I'm all out there. So.
How has the experience this time kind of running now that we're a few months out? How has that been for you?
So it was an interesting balance because I'm in the process of fulfilling my role, but also knowing I have to run the race. So it's like
two hats.
Like two hats. So my organizing skills are coming into play. My time management skills is coming into play. I'm also a mom of a 10-year-old now. See, a 10-year-old. So just making sure I'm finding the right balance while I'm doing while I'm handling all of these various roles. So I try to make sure I stay engaged with the community with like a monthly fireside chat that I do. And during those chats, sometimes, like last month, I had like guided meditation because I need meditation myself. And then we had the last one, someone came and they did some stretches and stuff like that. Because sometimes, my posture is like, oh. So I try to incorporate those things of me, of things I feel like, people need themselves. And sometimes they don't ask for, or they feel like, they don't make the time for because they have such busy lives. But we have to try to take care of ourselves. Yeah. And so I try to incorporate it. It's not a role that I have to do. But I think it's important while I run this race that, that I do try to make sure that, because race could run you really ragged. Try to make sure I take care of myself a little bit in the process. So I am working on that diligently.
You are.
And so, yeah.
Anything that you're looking forward to, of course, winning, would be the cherry on top. But anything in particular that you would really like to see fulfilled?
Yeah. So I believe what I like to see fulfilled is that currently now, we have one of my roles is putting together like a county committee of that consists of 240 residents of the district. Mm-hmm. So I like to make sure that body is functioning, right? And it's like a small little governance, and it's a great way to get involved into local politics. So I want to make sure, one of my things I want to do, I make sure that body is necessarily functioning, and they're meeting regularly, and they're in communications. Oftentimes, is one of the roles of a district leader, because sometimes people think about, appointing the judges and appointing poll workers. But one of the things is like you have to maintain a county committee and get people engaged and to volunteer and sign up. So I want to make sure I just get more people engaged, more people sign up, and more people understand the the electoral process, the political process, because it does impact everything that we do at the end of the day. Because who you send and who represents you in any seat, whatever, sometimes it's an impact on your daily lives.
A lot of people don't know the full function of the district leader. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just sometimes we need to do a hard reset And I always try to tell people, just like our program, that we get new viewers every day.
Yeah.
You can't assume someone's coming in and is going to know. There's someone turning 18 every day.
Yeah.
The way the credit card companies go after them on their 18th birthday, there's a credit card waiting in there in the mail. We have to take that role to educate those new voters, you know, who could potentially come on board and get them in early and make them see that not just that voting is important. Yes, it's important, but if they feel that they're a part of the process, and these titles aren't just so far removed,
far removed, or not attainable, or someone who reflects them, you know, like, okay, like I have a normal life. I have regular issues.
In the community who lived and being a part of this.
I'll take my little 2 train where I gotta go. So I'm like, go up at Sterling Street. So, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because working with young people is also something I think is also important, because you got to get them civically engaged. I remember when I was going to school, we had a civic engagement class, and I understood the difference between a U.S. senator and a state senator. And I think it's important to kind of get into schools and make sure, you know, kids understand that, you know, that civic is kind of brought back, and in small ways of who the board president is, who their council person is, and then even like, you know, who they're like, how even from district leadership, like how that works, because you don't know, you may pique their interest, you may pique. I mean, a part of that also piqued my interest was just kind of learning that was in school. So, and then understand the process and how it impact their lives. Do you remember, like, I think on Channel 7 is like, I'm just a bill capital. Exactly. not even thinking anything of it, but that actually tells you how the bill becomes a law and whatnot.
It all comes together.
And it all comes together. So,
this has been great.
Yeah.
So happy to have you. Good luck on June 28th.
Thank you so much.
And we'd love to have you back and get a follow-up.
Thank you. Okay? Yes, I'd love to be back. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, you can send us an email at info@beyondfocusmedia.com. I'm your host, Lydia Patel. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back again next week. Same time, same place. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Stay with us.
Beyond Focus TV show wants and needs your feedback. Did we blunder? Please let us know so we can improve. Was the show helpful to you? Drop us a note so we can share the success with our staff members. Is there something you think we could do better? We welcome new ideas and new approaches to old ideas. Do you have a great suggestion? Let us know and we'll work on it. If you would like to share your comments anonymously, please send us an email at info@beyondfocusmedia.com. If you want to get in touch with the executive producer directly, send him an email at gene@beyondfocusmedia.com. We really look forward to hearing from you.